In this video, we are going to discuss some basic troubleshooting techniques that you can use while working with Red Hat Enterprise Linux systems. There are multiple theories on troubleshooting and numerous books and websites on the topic. These are the steps that I use. The first thing you should do is try to gather as much information as possible. Find out what the user was doing when the error occurred. Next, determine what the error is. Ask the question, what seems to be the problem? Try to find out what was the last thing that changed on the system. Was there any new software or hardware installed? Did someone modify a configuration file? Next, research a solution to the problem. Look around for a solution on the internet, ask about one on mailing list, or you can check with your support representatives. Next, test the solution that you have decided on. If it works, then make your change permanent and note the resolution and any necessary documentation. If your resolution did not solve the problem, then repeat the above steps. If the problem that you are encountering does not have an obvious fix, you should make sure to check your system's logs. The first log file you should review is the var log messages file. This will contain information on your services, such as an error message or notifications from other processes whenever a change occurs. The next log you should consult is the var log audit.log file. Use your SE Alert or AU Report utilities to parse this log, as these tools will often provide a fix for the issue, or at the very least, they will point you in the right direction for a resolution. Another log file that you should check is the var log secure file. In case you believe that another user has escalated their privileges and caused some damage to your system, you can look in this file and correlate the time that the user logged in as root to the time that the damage occurred to help determine what happened. And finally, if the issue pertains to a particular service such as a web or FTP server, look in the var log directory for the log files that pertain to these services. If your system is not operating at full performance, for example, graphical windows take a while to open up or web page requests take longer than usual to respond from your web server, check to see what processes are running on the system and how much CPU time they are taking up. If you are in the graphical desktop environment, then you could use the GNOME System Monitor application. This utility will show you what processes are running, how much CPU time they are taking, and it will also graph your overall CPU usage. If you are not in the desktop environment, or you are unable to open the GNOME System Monitor, then you could use the top utility from a terminal. Here, you can see your top processes that are utilizing a lot of CPU resources, as well as other pertinent information. You could also use the ps command to see if you have a process that is hung up. If you have a process that is taking up way too many resources, you could try and use the renice command to change its processor priority. If it doesn't look like a process's CPU usage is slowing your system down, check your disk space and memory usage. You may have an application that needs a certain amount of disk space to write temporary files, and there isn't enough room to store them. You could check to see how much space you have left on a particular file system with the df-h command. This command will output how much free space you have left over in human-readable format. You could also find out how much disk space is in use within a particular directory by using the du-h command. This command will output your disk space usage in human-readable format, which is helpful in determining which directory you could clean up the most data from. As for your RAM usage, run the free command. This command will tell you how much RAM you have used and what is available, as well as how much swap space you have available. If you don't have enough physical RAM but some extra hard drive space, then you could create more swap space and add it to your total. That may not be the best solution for long-term performance, but it could get you by in a pinch until you get some more RAM cards installed on your system. If a piece of hardware does not seem to be operating correctly, and you have verified that you have it connected and powered on, run the following commands to see if the system's kernel has detected it. If you have a new hard disk that you installed, run the fdisk-l command to make sure it is detected by your system. If you installed a new internal PCI card, such as a network card, run the lspci command to see if the PCI bus detects it. If not, make sure that the card is properly seated in the PCI slot. If it requires external power from the motherboard, make sure that you have the power connected. The same goes for USB devices. Run the lsusb command to verify that the system sees your device. You can also run the DMI decode command to check your BIOS version. It could be possible that you may need to upgrade your system's BIOS to enable new features. If you are having issues with a particular service, for instance perhaps it is not running or it won't seem to start properly, use the following commands to verify its configuration. First, run the checkconfig --list command to make sure that it is set up to start at boot time. Run the service, then the name of the service, and then status command to verify that the service is running. If the service won't start or you get errors when you try and start it, double check the service's configuration file. Make sure that you have everything configured properly and make sure any security context and permissions on the configuration file are set properly. Some services, such as HTTPD, will have an option that will let you check the configuration file syntax, such as the service HTTPD config test command that you can use for the Apache web server. In our next few videos, we will be looking at some scenarios where we do some troubleshooting on network connections and working with the rescue environment that comes on the installation disk.